Okay, thank you for joining us tonight, the August 5th Middleton Finance and Personnel Committee. And we'll start at 6 p.m. Can we have a roll call, please?
Yes, Haniro,
Here.
Lorman,
Here?
Crow,
Here.
all members are present.
Great, thank you very much. Approval of the minutes. I know that some revisions and things were already submitted to you, Bill, and I would ask my fellow members if we have any revisions. Nothing. Okay. We'll accept the minutes as presented. Thank you very much. Audit of the bills.
Pardon me, Mr. Chair, but before we get into the specific agenda items, I'd just like to introduce our new Human Resources Manager, Casey Radke. Casey started last Monday. We're very excited to have her with us and wanted to give her a chance to introduce herself.
Oh, hi, I'm Casey. I'm the new HR manager and I'm very excited to be here. Great.
Welcome.
Welcome, Casey. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
Yep.
You know, I just steamroll right through
Dive right in.
my
Yep.
notes in front of me. I'm a very good horse with blinders. Okay. Audit of the bills.
And for the audit of the bills, you have the regular bills for tonight, the July credit cards, and there also should be a sheet at your place for an additional list of items. These are for second installment TIF payments for developer finance TIF agreements. And this is a partial list based on those where we've been able to verify the second installment paid. The total dollar amount for this batch is $1,250,679.49. I do anticipate that we'll have a few more on the next agenda once we verify that their second installments were paid.
Okay. Can I have a motion for accepting audit of the bills?
This is Nairo. I'll make that motion.
This is Crow. I'll second.
All right, all those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you. Resolutions. First resolution. Resolution 2025-35, approving the grant application and requirements for the 2026 Transportation Alternative Program for a B-cycle system in Middleton. Right now, there's a zero fiscal impact. Do we have a motion? Then we can discuss.
Yep, this is Nairo. Move to recommend that council adopt resolution 2025-35.
All righty, and a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Whoops, I want to discuss it, sorry.
All I was gonna say is I completely support it and have been
Yeah, I'm sorry.
looking
about that.
forward to this, and it's in the 2023 comp plan, not just the 2021. But
Yeah, no,
voting is fine too.
yeah, well, like everybody should have any comments if they have any. Randall?
No, I agree too. I think that's important that we have it.
Yeah, and I also support the idea of it. The only thing I guess I would mention, just giving some thought to this. I think B-Cycle has to have some skin in the game. So, you know, they're asking us to purchase some of the equipment. And I think, you know, they capture fees, and as a result of that, you know, they're getting the revenue for it. I think as a city, we can support infrastructure and electrical conduit and things like that. So I mean, I support it, but I think as we move into it, I don't want B-Cycle to think that we are just going to write them a check. All right, sorry, now we can vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thanks. Resolution 25-36, amending the 2025 water utility budget for well number 8 repairs.
This is Nairo. I move to recommend that council adopt resolution 2025-36.
And Lorman will second that. Okay, do we have any discussion or questions for staff regarding this?
I'll just note that I really wish we would be able to take advantage of some of the incentives that are still available under the Inflation Reduction Act and add solar to our wells, but I recognize that the repairs that are being suggested right now have everything to do with keeping the well functioning. And just note that for the future.
Yeah, and as I read through it, I guess my comment to staff would be is I appreciate the fact that you stated in there, you know, this is something that wasn't looked at. Now that we're looking at it, there's probably other needs where the city needs to be proactive on this. I guess think about that from a budgeting standpoint. We're going to be looking at this next year and the year after and having to replace this equipment. That's really my only comment.
Yeah, and I would just along that line add that the water utility has been looking at well rehabs, I think roughly every other year. But they're outside of that cycle, there is the potential for things like this that could come up. And that's something there's been some discussion about trying to ensure that there's adequate funds for what kind of would be a typical year of expected mechanical failures in the budget. We don't want to necessarily budget for the worst case scenario, but we do have reserves in the utility if there is something larger that comes up mid-year.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, all those in favor of resolution 2025-36, state aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, thank you very much. Resolution 2025-37, amending the 2025 capital project fund budget for Parisi Park Shelter.
This is Nairo. I move to recommend that council adopt resolution 2025-37.
This is Crow, I'll second.
Okay, any discussion? Any questions for staff?
I would just note that we have been receiving emails from folks who really want to see this go forward. I understand that the Parks, Recreation and Forestry Commission did not make a recommendation to us, and that's unfortunate because I know this project has been in the budget since the 2023 budget. So in 2022, it first showed up. We had $50,000 budgeted for design and $500,000 for construction. And the goals were to modernize, standardize, and make restrooms available year round. Then the next year, we approved actually $900,000. So the total estimated project cost of $800,000 isn't an issue for me, especially given that the two other bids were actually above 800,000. So I'm okay with this and don't share the concerns that some of the members of PRFC had.
What were the concerns, or should we save that discussion for the council meeting, which might get drawn out? I'm okay with keeping things moving along at this point if we want to get through this.
I think I would wait until council so we don't have to rehash it if it comes up.
Okay, all right. All those in favor of resolution 2025-37, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you very much. Saving comments for later. Number 4, resolution 2025-38, approving a development finance agreement and the issuance of a tax incremental revenue bond for Greenway Project LLC. And we have some city attorney review on this, so I'm looking for some direction.
Just be looking for a motion for approval. This is TIF bond, basically is a part of the TIF agreement. Bill, I understand, has reviewed their financials and they have all the proper expenditures to receive the maximum amount of payments. So that's how the bond and resolution is drafted.
Okay,
Okay, this is Nairo. I move to recommend that council adopt resolution 2025-38.
and Lorman will second that. All those in favor?
Oh, I do have one question. On page 17 of the packet, which is page 3 of 5 of the agreement, it says through expiration of tax increment district number 3, currently September 30th, 2030. And I was just wondering, does the early closure of TID 3 affect this timing?
I can answer that. All of the bonds, including this one that have been issued, do have the ability to prepay. So we anticipate that we will likely be taking the exercise of the option in early 2026 to prepay the remaining balance of TIF bonds. There may be some where they are based on their assessed value and what was constructed. If they're not projected to fully pay out, we may take the approach of escrowing funds and then continue to make those payments out through escrow and then settle up at the final. So I think that this bond will give us the flexibility to do either of those two routes.
Okay, thanks, Bill.
Any questions? No. Okay. All right. All those in favor of resolution 2025-38, approving the development finance agreement, issuance of tax incremental revenue bond, and to establish a special redemption fund, say aye.
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 And any opposed? All right, ayes have it. On to our agreements and contracts.
So I think there's one
we have
more
one
item
more?
under
Oops.
resolutions, 2025-39.
Oh, sorry. Yep. Ahead of myself. All right. Resolution 2025-39, amending the 2025 Public Works capital budget for North High Point traffic calming bid.
This is an IRO. I move to recommend that council adopt resolution 2025-39.
Yep, Norman will second that. Any comments, questions for staff?
I have just a couple questions.
Mhm.
So I'm in support of this. But I wanted to ask, the budgeted amount was 35,000 and none of the bids came in there. 67,000 is what we're looking at now. So my question is just, are these cost estimates reasonable? Did we have an unrealistic budgeted amount? Just some guidance from the director.
Sure. So, yeah, I think you turned that like that. Sorry.
Button on the top.
And while you're figuring out the tech, I'll just say, I'm asking this largely because I'm thinking, I know a lot of people who would like speed bumps in District 6 and, other places. And I just want to make sure if we're continuing to install these, that we budget appropriately, so.
Sure. I think, right, the original estimate was for 35,000 and I think based on concrete prices at that time, that was probably an accurate estimate. I think it's telling that, so we did bid this project out earlier in the summer. In June, we opened bids. They did come in high and actually were all in the $60,000 range. We presented that to Public Works Committee. We took the option of rebidding the project in hopes of getting lower bids. Obviously, we did not. So I think this is telling that, right, bids are coming in much higher than anticipated. I would add that traffic control is an added cost to this project. What they'll be doing is shutting down one lane of traffic, installing the concrete speed humps, letting them cure, and then reopening lanes. So it's a drawn out process, unfortunately. So I think that adds considerably to the cost.
Okay, and while that is going on, I hope there will be accommodations for pedestrians and bikes if sidewalks are going to be interrupted in any way.
Yes, there
Okay.
shouldn't be any sidewalk disruptions. All the work is occurring within the roadway, and the only pedestrian crossing that's in existence there is at the intersection of High Point and Greenway, and that should not be affected. So,
Okay, and then finally, Ben, I'm just curious, a little concerned about taking this additional funding from the bridge replacement project. Can you, is that the Century?
no, that is not the Century. So this is a reoccurring program that the Public Works Department budgets for. So this is we have bridge inspections that occur, I believe, on a every other year basis. The county does the repairs on the city's behalf. We do not anticipate we'll be using the entire budgeted amount for that. That's why we recommend using that funding.
Okay, thank you.
Randall, questions? No. Okay. All right, so take a vote on this. We've had a motion. All those in favor of resolution 2025-39, amending the 2025 Public Works Capital Budget for North High Point Traffic Calming bid, say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? Thank you very much. Now on to agreements and contracts. Amendment number 10 to the agreement with MSA Professional Services for the Graber Pond Elevation Control Project.
This is an IRO. I move to recommend that council approve amendment number 10 to the agreement with MSA.
Right? Second that? Any discussion or questions for staff?
I would like to note, I did receive some input from Herb Garn, who is someone whose opinion I trust and value. He had some concerns about the modeling and wanted to, was hoping that the source of data would not just be the past studies that he understood to be referred to in the contract language for phase 600. And I corresponded with Luke about this, and I'm comfortable with the interpretation of the reference to information that the city will provide to MSA to do this modeling, to be the data for this modeling. I'm comfortable with the interpretation that that information will be identified by the staff in consultation with the Water Resources Management Commission. So we'll be able to find the best data that's out there, even if right now it's not in the city's files somewhere. So just wanted to make that clear.
Any other comments or questions?
Yeah, I guess, and again, not having a whole lot of detailed knowledge of this, brief time I spent on water resources. Just wanted to make sure that we're not losing anything by, it talks about the Misty Valley stormwater system is covered under a different RFP, so it's basically taking away from this and moving it to another agreement.
It was a part of this amendment originally.
Okay,
We bid out another RFP for the design of that system,
okay,
so.
And it's
didn't
also,
duplicate it.
it's also MSA who will be
It's
doing
doing the
that work.
same.
Yeah, so that
Yeah.
works. In fact, we're going to be talking about that soon.
Mhm.
Next, that works out nicely.
thanks.
And I will add, Alder Crow, we have not given up on the, because you see only phases 100 through 400, 800, and optional phase 1200 were selected. We haven't given up on the others. It's just that we chose to focus first on the parts of this project that the city has some access to the land.
Okay.
I was not comfortable going forward with the part to, between Pheasant Branch and High Road because most of the wetlands, at least, are going to be owned by the Ziegler family.
Right.
And I wanted to make sure we had their agreement before we made any commitments to MSA on that. So that's what we're in the process of trying to do.
Alrighty. Okay, so all those in favor of this, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Right, let's have it. Now this phase right into the next one, agreement with MSA Professional Services for design engineering service for the Misty Valley Storm Rehabilitation Project. We have a motion.
I move to recommend that council approve the agreement in an amount not to exceed $49,068.
Okay, and Lorman will second that. I guess my only question or observation to staff would be this feels like this was kind of rushed in the first, bidder to respond. I'm just wondering, I know it's MSA is tied into the first half and now they're tied into this half. Don't we get a discount?
So we did put this out for an RFP and sent it to 3 firms. We got one response from MSA, and then another response from another consultant that was simply too busy to do this work or the Hidden Oaks work as well. And there was one other consultant that just missed the deadline.
I
They were
see.
showed the week after.
Are,
In-
are we being too time compressed on sending these out for bid? I mean, do we need as a, in general, next year, you know, I don't like to shoot on ourselves. I just like to look forward and.
Yeah, we
do
mentioned
need to
this
work more
during-
time into it for city staff to have to respond to this.
We mentioned this during WRMC as well. Typically, we would give a longer period to respond. The truncated response period was mainly to get this design this year yet, for construction in 2026.
Yeah. I mean, if it, you know, if us committees and commissions, I don't know, can't make decisions or we're slow. I mean, you know, we're kind of the public side of it and we may do that. And I think it's important that it be clear when there's a real sense of urgency or to get something put on an agenda as soon as possible.
Yep, no, that's understood. Moving forward, that's gonna be our approach.
Mhm. Okay, well, that was my question. All righty. Okay, well, all those in favor of the agreement with MSA Professional Services for design and engineering services for the Misty Valley Storm Rehabilitation Project 2025-124, not to exceed $49,068, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, and any opposed? Hope not. All right. Item number 3, agreement with MSA Professional Services for Hidden Oaks Stormwater Rehabilitation. In an amount not to exceed $39,958.
This is an IRO. I move to recommend that council approve the agreement in an amount not to exceed $39,958.
All righty, second,
This Crow, I'll second.
and any discussion?
Yes, I had, I want to make a comment and I have a question. So I really like that in the proposal, it says MSA will seek to evaluate alternatives that do not require wholesale reconstruction of the ponds for fear of damaging this important neighborhood aesthetic. And I just wanted to relay my gratitude to MSA for recognizing that these stormwater features in actually both Hidden Oaks and Misty Valley are valued and treasured by the neighbors who look at the native plants and the wildlife that those plants support and really treasure these amenities. My question is, the agreement language is just a little bit different when it comes to, different from the Misty Valley one, when it comes to meetings with the public. So in the Misty Valley agreement, in the preliminary phase, item number 5, and in phase B, item number 11, both mention the possibility of meeting with the public. In the Hidden Oaks one, that second final design phase meeting is not included. And I was wondering why that, I didn't notice this at the WRMC meeting. I'm wondering why that's the case.
Yeah, so you're just saying there's 2 for Misty Valley and 1 for
Yep.
Hidden Oaks.
Yeah, that
Um,
second phase B, design phase, final, design, there's not a public meeting anticipated.
Yeah, I
Hidden
guess
Oaks.
that's something more to do with the scale of the project. I don't think there's gonna be as many wholesale changes with Hidden Oaks. Misty Valley might be a much more intensive reconstruction.
Okay, well, that's good to know there that difference is intentional. And I would just hope that during the preliminary phase, if there is a public meeting for the Hidden Oaks, that if there's a lot of interest, a second meeting be included.
Yeah, yep.
Thanks.
Okay. All those in favor of agreement with MSA Professional Services Inc. for Hidden Oaks stormwater rehabilitation in the amount not to exceed $39,958. State aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Right. Bids and quotes. Award to bid to Advanced Building Corporation for Breezy Park Shelter for an amount not to exceed, wow, a lot of sixes.
The devilish.
Yeah, I don't even want to say it.
Yeah.
Okay, $666,666.
This is Hanira. I move to recommend that council approve the award of bid in an amount not to exceed $666,666.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Is this Crow? I'll second.
All righty. Discussion. Or do we want to save discussion?
Well, I would just make the same comments I made earlier, that I think this is an important use of our park development fund, and I think it's an appropriate use of those funds.
Okay. Staff, any technical input on this or save it for later? Good. No, not at this point. Okay, sounds like a plan. All right. All those in favor of award to bid to Advanced Building Corporation for Breezy Park Shelter for an amount of $666,666. Say aye.
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 Any opposed? Ayes have it. Award contract to Tri-County Paving, Inc. for paving of basketball court at the Middleton Hills South Park.
Before I make a motion, I had a question. Does this one, the memo says contingent upon city attorney review of agreement and certificate of insurance. Is that necessary?
Probably, I mean, I'm going to have to review all the contracts anyway, because I have to approve them as to form, so.
Okay, I'll include it then. So I move to recommend the council approve the award of contract in an amount not to exceed $15,984, subject to city attorney approval of any associated contracts and review of agreement and certificate of insurance.
All righty, do I have a second?
Is this Crow? I'll second.
Any questions or discussion?
I wondered if the amount needs to be specified in the contract. You can derive the amount based on the cost per ton and the number of estimated tons, but it doesn't, I don't think it actually says $15,984. Or if it did, I missed it, and I apologize for that.
Does that need to be in there? Or,
I came up with the amount by
Yep.
adding that together, but that's something I was hoping Matt would help me review before we execute.
So Matt, you'll take care of that? Okay. That's the only
Kylie, I have
question.
a question. What's virgin asphalt as opposed to the standard mix? And what,
It w-
why is it an issue or a question or?
It was recommended for the surfacing, the acrylic surfacing for the court. And it really wasn't a large increase, so I consulted with our engineer team on that. And it wasn't a large difference, so I decided to move forward with that mix. I'm gonna try it out at this site. We didn't have it at a few of our other sites, so I just kind of wanted to see the condition over time.
Sure. What's the lifespan of the court, like 20 years or something?
I would say closer to 15, depends on the base conditions and that, but
All righty. Thank you. Any other questions, comments? Nope. Okay. All those in favor of award of contract to Tri-County Paving, Inc. for paving of the basketball court at the Middleton Hills South Park, subject to the city attorney review and of the contracts, fiscal impact $15,984. Please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Right. Award to bid for Farner Asphalt CO LLC for the 2025 road surface treatment project in the amount not to exceed $249,942, subject to city attorney approval of any associated contracts on this.
This is an I move to recommend that council approve the award of bid in an amount not to exceed $249,942, subject to city attorney approval of any associated contracts.
Lorman will second that. Any questions or discussions for staff? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Right, fantastic. Item number 3, award of proposal for the electronics control system for the well number 8 pump, VDI replacement for an amount not to exceed the $38,980.
This is an I move to recommend that council approve the award of proposal in an amount not to exceed $38,980, subject to city attorney approval of any associated contracts.
And Lorman will second that. Any questions for staff on this? All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thanks much. Award to bid to Prezi Construction for the North High Point Road Traffic Calming Project in the amount not to exceed $67,080.
This is an I move to recommend that council approve the award of bid in an amount not to exceed $67,080, contingent upon city attorney review and approval of the agreement.
Lorman will second that. Any questions? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Last item. Consideration and discussion of the city Middleton fund balance policy. And Bill, take it away.
Yeah,
I
thank
think we
you.
did it, right? We made time to get through this?
Yeah, I think we're in good shape.
Okay.
That was a lot to get through in half
All
an hour.
That was the goal.
Um,
I think
Yeah,
there's a
so-
lot there to hear. Thank you.
For the city fund balance policy, so we adopted this policy approximately 8 years ago. It has been reviewed periodically during that time, but I don't believe there have been any changes from that original drafting. There are 2 items that I am proposing for your consideration for amendments to the policy this evening. The first is looking at the targeted range for the city's general unassigned fund balance, and the second relates to the general contingency. For the general fund unassigned fund balance, or what is essentially our general reserves or rainy day fund that hasn't been allocated for a specific project, the Government Finance Officers Association, or GFO, recommendation is for a minimum of 2 months of operating expenses, which is 16.7%. Our policy currently sets a range of 2 to 4 months of operating expenses, so that's 16.7 to 33.3%. And the city has done a really good job of building its fund balance over time, and actually is sitting at the upper end of that range. Pulling up a chart here from our 2024 year-end summary, showing that over the last 6 years, we've been generally between 29 and about 31% of the next year's budget of operating expenses. So I think that does raise the question, as we are approaching the upper end of that target, do we still feel that that's an appropriate target range? And I'm recommending that you consider increasing that range to 25 to 40% approximately, roughly 3 to 5 months of operating expenses. I think that our policy, or at least practice, has been to try to stay at least at 25% or higher. Since that policy's been adopted, we've been able to do that. I don't see the city likely wanting to drop below that 25% level, so that may be a more realistic minimum. And I think the 40% gives us some flexibility that if we have years with strong revenues and strong surplus, to consider adding to that fund balance, which provides additional flexibility for various things in the future with unknown conditions, cost increases, federal changes, whatever the case may be. It is also one of the key factors that Moody's looks at, and was noted in our recent credit opinion that one item that they'd be looking at closely in considering any potential upgrades in the future is looking at a larger level, the overall fund balance for the city. General fund unassigned is just one piece of that, but certainly it's an important piece. And having some flexibility to grow that in good years, I think would be helpful for the city. So that is the first recommendation. The second recommendation relates to the city's general contingency. The policy set a target of 2/3 of 1% of the general fund budget to be budgeting in the annual budget as a contingency that would be available for appropriation by the council for unexpected things that come up during the year. The policy also talks about if that general contingency is not spent during the year, that potentially could be used to increase that unassigned or long-term reserve. Since its adoption, I don't know that we have ever exactly hit the 2/3 target. We've come close in a couple of years. The table in the memo shows what our practice has been. And generally, we've been most years at around $100,000 for general contingency, which is about 0.4% of our general fund budget. So I think given that we have had difficulty with levy limits of putting that much into general contingency, adjusting our target in the policy to 0.5% would be a more realistic target. I also feel that given that we have a strong unassigned fund balance and reserve, and if we consider the first recommended change to potentially allow that to increase further, that does give me some comfort of potentially having a lower contingency amount in each budget, knowing that in a really large situation, we have that larger reserve to draw on. So that somewhat related, but those are the two items that I would propose for your discussion and consideration tonight.
So really, it's a matter of we're relying on higher fund balance from one fund, based on keeping one fund at a more fixed level and historically.
Yeah, I think with the general contingency, I mean, certainly if we have the flexibility to fully fund that at the 2/3 of 1% or even at a higher level, that gives you flexibility. But I think in practice, we've been very limited in our use of general contingency. We've generally used it for smaller items and not for really major expenses. If we do have a situation where we have an emergency or we have some other larger item, you do have that reserve to fall back on. And the one thing that comes to mind over this time period is when we had the flooding in 2018, and there was a decision to go into our unassigned fund balance through an emergency contingency authorization, and then we were able to build that back up.
I guess some of the other things I'm concerned about is, I mean, I think we are going to see increases across the board of raw materials for all city projects and anything that we would bid out. And so I think some of the challenges that we experienced tonight with our existing projects are only going to increase or at least stay steady. Obviously, our capacity to generate revenue as a city is fixed at this point. So I mean, I support us having obviously more revenue on hand. I don't know how we would look at that and using that kind of money appropriately as costs go up to stay on track with projects. Otherwise, we as a council will say, well, I mean, that falls on our shoulders. So then we end up saying, okay, we're not going to move ahead on something that was in the budget this year because of that very reason. That's a reality, I guess.
I have a question about the concept of a target for the general contingency. So looking at the table of the 6 budget years and what our budgeted contingency amount was, and the percent of the budget that they wound up being, it's easy to see that we never did hit that 0.67%. So my question is, and I should have looked this up by going into the budget request, but did staff recommend the actual 0.67% of our budgeted expenditures as a contingency, and then the finance and personnel committee scaled it back to make the budget balance?
I think in a lot of years, we've started with the department request level, essentially showing the full 2/3 of 1%. But then at the point of having a proposed budget or proposed scenarios, already with the recommendation coming out of the mayor and administrative team recommending a lower level, just given the constraints that we're under.
Mhm. I guess my question is getting at, do we need to have a target if we're not going to follow it? Like what's the value of having a target if we don't actually follow it? If for the
Yeah.
reasons that you just outlined, we have other options available. So do we need to codify it in a policy to have a set target? Or do we just, when we're developing, the budget, when you all make a recommendation, just include the,
Yeah.
whatever amount you would recommend?
I do think that's a fair question. I think there's value in having the general contingency defined in the policy, explaining what its purpose would be and how it would be used. We could include a specific target, or there could just be language that, at a level as determined by the budget each year, and just leave it more general if we want to provide that flexibility.
Okay.
I too support the idea of that. It's good to have a target. It's good to have something in writing because we come and go. But if it's in writing, the city always has something to fall back on as a policy. Make the target.
So question about our debt management policy, because I was looking at the Moody's, and that was one of the others. I mean, that was one of the justifications for making the first change at least. What is our long-term liabilities ratio now? Do you know?
I don't have that available off the top of my head. I can
Okay.
certainly find that and send it out. And I am anticipating having a discussion about the debt management policy on a future agenda.
Okay.
I was originally targeting potentially this one, but both I would like some additional time to do some scenarios. Plus, we had a full agenda, so I thought it was better to hold that for our next meeting.
Okay, that sounds good. And then I noted in the report card, Moody said that physical climate risk is moderately negative for us, given exposure to flooding. And I just want to emphasize that's another good reason to beef up our flood prevention efforts. And then finally, I noted that they said our housing affordability risk was neutral to low. And I wondered, is that based on Dane, like comparing us to the rest of Dane County, or is that compared to national?
I think that is looking at a larger comparison of this region to national ratings that they score.
All right, it's hard to see how housing affordability the risk is neutral to low, because that just doesn't seem right.
Yeah, I can
Yep.
find out some more information in that, but I suspect that they're looking nationally, so looking at markets like California and what the Midwest would be compared to some of those other regions.
Okay. Do you need a motion from us to recommend this to council?
Yeah, I think it would be appropriate if you're comfortable to make a recommendation.
Okay,
Absolutely.
I move to recommend that council amend the fund balance policy to, one, increase the target range for general fund unassigned fund balance from 16.7% to a range of 16.7 to 33.3% of subsequent year budgeted expenditures to a range of 25 to 40%. And two, to decrease the target appropriation for general contingency from 0.67% of budgeted expenditures to 0.50%.
And Lorman will second that. Any further discussion? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much, Phil. For
Thank
the
you.
work on that. And staff. Okay, how we doing on time, Bill? What do you think?
We have 15 minutes before the council meeting. I think I can get through the next couple items very quickly if you'd like me to just say a couple words about each.
Sure, update on second quarter 2025 investment report.
Yeah, there has not been much change in the mix or approach to the city's investments. I would just note on the chart on the top of the June page that our weighted average yield has remained constant at around 4% over the past several months. We did see towards the end of last year, beginning of this year, a decrease in short-term interest rates reflected in the local government investment pool in the 90-day T-bill. That has remained relatively constant. For our term mix for maturity, we're continuing to be weighted toward the shorter end with more funds available either in immediately liquid or up to 1 year. Part of the rationale for that is with the pending TID closure, we are anticipating in early next year taking the opportunity to prepay some of the remaining TIF bonds, and we want to make sure that we have a pool of cash that we can draw upon early next year. With that, we are still looking at cash flow and where appropriate, investing in that 3 to 5 year term to try to lock in for interest rates to give us some protection should interest rates continue to decline further in the future. And no action on this item. Happy to answer any questions.
We might be looking at a decrease in interest rates.
If you'd like, I can just say a couple words about the general fund financial updates. These, again, no action. This is for information included in your packet with the general fund year-to-date actuals through the end of June. The projections are on the revenue side, primarily my projections, just looking at trends. For the department side, we do not yet have the department projections back. Those will be coming in as part of their budget submissions in the next month. So I do think that those will be more up to date and accurate once we consider that information at the start of the budget. Looking on the revenue side, there are a few areas that are trending overall above budget. Building permits is one of those. The other one where I am estimating a surplus is in the area of investments. Plugged in 250,000 that I'm anticipating us to be higher than the budget. We did budget conservatively. I don't know where interest rates are going to go, but given that we're now into August and rates have remained relatively constant, I do think that we will have some level of surplus from interest and investment income. Combining that with the expenditure side, there are some areas where we know of vacancies from positions that have been open for a longer period of time. So overall, rough guess at this point is we might be looking at a surplus in the ballpark of about 500,000, largely driven by revenue. And again, we'll have more information on that when we get the department budgets. And as we get into budget, try to give you a better picture of what that's going to look like. And again, open for questions.
I just have a question. Just, do you know what your track record is from, your projection of this $500,000 surplus? How does that typically compare by the time we get to the end of the year?
I'm usually conservative because I hate to put a number out there and
Yep.
then find out that it's not going to be that attractive. So I'm a little nervous about putting the 500,000 out there. But I think especially with what we're seeing on the investment income and building permits, I feel pretty comfortable about that number.
Great. Thanks.
Have no questions? No. All right. Well, as usual, thank you very much for your hard work, time, staff, and thank you to this body for your time and attention to detail. With that, we stand adjourned.
What about don't we have future agenda items?
Do we?
Oh, yeah, my apologies. I
we
had
don't.
meant
If
to
it's-
include that. but
Yeah, if it's
yes.
not there, it's not a problem. I'll just hold it for next time.
Okay.